I do want to talk about that because we have a lot of commonalities, I feel, and this is just another one, not just psychedelics, but in particular, um, toad venom, 5-MeO DMT, and actually have a video on my channel, and I've spoken about this a lot openly, and wrote a blog about it, and it's actually been over 4 years since I've done that, but to me, that's the most profound psychedelic I've ever done. Those experiences that I had, I've used it, I think 3 times, but those experiences were just complete ego dissolution, complete no going back. What Daniel Ingram, I think, called the arising and passing away. I think that's kind of what the shift that happened for me. It was like, oh, the first time I did it, it was like in the actual experience, like, oh shit, I'm on this spiritual journey, and I can't, there was just this sense of, oh, you can't go back. Oh shit. Um, and like profound openings for me, right?
Yeah.
And then you kind of shared a little bit, and I know different people who've had this experience, and it's always interesting to kind of have this experience and then reflect back and then try to put the ineffable into words, because whatever the hell whatever you say about it isn't quite what it is. That's what I recognize, especially with Toad, because you're not retaining probably, if you retain 5% of that experience, that's amazing. Like that's already a lot of insight. But a lot of what you shared with your experience, I think mapped a lot with mine.
Yeah.
So maybe you could kind of talk a little bit more about that.
Sure. Yeah, I want to do it because I've heard a lot about it. And I would say, the best way I can describe it, I mean, if anybody ever listens to this video, I mean, Shinzen Young has a video that I sent you on what he calls the absolute witness. And he describes what this is, which is different from like the witness that normally people refer to in meditation, but the absolute witness. And his description of the absolute witness, I would say what he says in that video was exactly what my 5-MeO experience was. It's hard for me to call it a psychedelic because I wasn't there. They're like, in order for you to be tripping, somebody's got to be there tripping, but I wasn't there. I really wasn't there. And I remember the only little kind of memory I have of me being there is I remember kind of leaning back, and I think I told you this, like, I felt a sense of absolute horror because like my whole world was getting just ripped away from me, and apparently I screamed, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God," like I don't know, 5 or 6 times. And after that I was gone, but I was conscious, so let's try to describe this.
It was consciousness was you weren't conscious. Consciousness was
correct. Yes. Like, when people say things like it is or it's ising, right? There was no time, there was no space, there was no me, there was no subject, there was no object. It was just like identityless existence, or just what is. I don't know. Like, you couldn't say I was existing or not existing. I mean, I came basically, geez, this is hard to get
beyond. It was beyond existing or not existing. No.
Yes, like it's
beyond
sort of,
that
for me. And the thing is that I remember. So I do remember a little bit, and I remember that like I was laying in there, and like I was sort of in a void, and everything was stripped away. But I remember like I was still experiencing some sort of little bit of suffering, because you got to let go into it, which by the way is like not necessarily going to happen, because it scares the, I mean, if you, it's really fucking scary, you know, at first, if you're not familiar with this type of stuff.
Dude, I don't think I let go. I think it just it made me tap out, because especially the first time I did it, I was fighting that thing till the end, and then I just couldn't fight no more.
So yeah, I was laying there, and I remember like there was a little bit of suffering still there, but it was like the suffering of being a separate ego, like the existential suffering of me being Adam. And I remember just something inside me. It was like almost like, you know, I was gonna fall from the Empire State Building, and I was hanging on to a pole with one little finger, you know, and then all of a sudden I just let go. You know, I was just like, it's like, it was like, okay, I'm gonna die now. You know, it's okay, I'm gonna go away. You know, and I just let go. And when I let go, it was just poof, it just got, I was gone. You know? But in that is like, I want to say, like, you know, the ultimate reality, whatever that is, that created the Big Bang, you know, that the Big Bang happened in that. Because it's very easy to say, like, okay, you know, the Big Bang happened in me, or I did that, like sort of like ego project onto that state, you know? But all I can say is that it was like, I felt like I hit my head on the eternal gong. Like I went away, and it was like, you know, the I am that I am of the Bible. Like, you know, God, when Pharaoh asked me, who sent me, who should I tell him? And God says, tell him I am that I am. Like, whatever there is that is, you know, the direct experience is whatever that is not separate from my own being. You know, I know that. Without making any ontological claims, without making anything about what that is. It's like, I went from feeling like I was this thing that's maybe separate in some way, to realizing that like that thing is also me, you know, like my very essence of whatever is showing up here is that, you know, and is everything else. And it was the ultimate like trust, letting go, and oh my God, I'm okay. You know, and I remember like, you know, I think I told you, it really felt like my brain got shut down. Like you turn the computer off, you know, like shut down, and then boom, okay, then all, it's like all of a sudden I remember I heard like, you know, like shaking, like they were shaking, like the person with me was shaking some sort of instrument. All of a sudden, like sound, and then vision comes back, and you don't even know what you're looking at. It's like you're being born again, like a baby, you know, like all of a sudden it's like, you know, you're coming back online little by little by little, like, and then I would describe the computer getting rebooted, you know, but it's like in between the computer getting shut off and the computer getting turned back on, it's like you were eternity, you know, a complete selfless eternity, you know, in the fabric of reality, completely interwoven. And the knowledge of that, you know, when the mind comes back on, it's like, oh my God, I'm safe. Like, I'm okay. Like, I'm okay. And I think that this whole thing of suffering, you know, that we're going through in our lives, and wanting to get a better job and, you know, kids and family and all this stuff. We're all trying to be okay. Like, because it's like, fuck, I'm going to die. I'm going to lose everything I care about. I'm going to lose my family. You know, my parents are going to die. You know, everything is going to get stripped away from me, from my little from Adam Unger, you know? And knowing that as an ego, how could you be okay? I mean, like, oh my God. That's the situation we're really all in together. And it was and it's very hard to live this, you know, and this is where the practice comes in. But it's like, I'm okay, you know, I'm okay. Like, oh my God, oh my God. That's where the God thing is. I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, I'm okay. You know, it's like through the fire of hell, it's like, I'm okay. And maybe that's what Daniel Ingram was talking about, you know, when it's like, when you could come back and realize what's the thing that's driving you in the first place. And it's like, oh, like the thing I was always just looking for was like reality, was me. Like I felt like I felt like I finally looked at myself in the mirror, like saw what actually was, you know? And that's really scary and it's still scary for me as a person, you know? Like what actually was, you know, I was sitting in a sauna. I'm doing a like half hour in a sauna, you know? And I'm sitting there and I wanted to get out. And I said, oh, I'm staying in for another 10 minutes. And all of a sudden that survival thing started to come up in me. That same like where you feel like your life's under threat. And I started actually nobody was in the sauna. And I started to see the sauna like, God help me, God help, like really, God help me. You know, help me. You know, this crisis, like, help me, I'm gonna die. Help me. You know, I'm vulnerable, help me. You know? But it's like you realize that the God that you want to help you is also part of you, you know. But in order to get there, it's like you've got to really let go, you know, all that fear and all that conceptualization and man, it had a huge effect on me. Like after the experience, my body became more flexible. You know, I didn't talk about this, but part of what brought me to spirituality too is that I had a very bad a chronic pain issue, like my neck. I was in horrible pain working as a lawyer, you know, sitting behind my desk typing. That was horrible pain. And when I had this experience, it was like tension that was in my muscles from like playing baseball and striving and trying, like started to let go, you know? It's like I could never do half lotus, and all of a sudden I could do half lotus, you know? Like like my body relaxed, you know? And I began realizing when you talk about suffering, you know, how much as egos were, you know, holding on, defending ourselves in very subtle ways, very, very subtle, you know, trying to survive. And man, that brought a whole new dimension to my life, you know. But I think this is where groundedness comes in. Is it's easy to take an experience like that and be like, well, fuck, look at my life right now. shit, I'm still working as a lawyer. It sucks. I want to go escape it, like another duality gets created. My everyday life and my 5MEO life, or even my meditative life. Like, oh, I want to just go back and sit and get into a jhana, or I want to sit and meditate, or do this or do that. And I always bring it down to like, what's happening now? What's my life like now? Because if I'm not living it, if I'm not actualizing it, if I'm not experiencing it directly right now, then it's just a memory and it's just a concept, and then it's like some other ideal that I create that I now have to strive towards. And then now I'm starting the suffering all over again, right? So it's like, at some point, and I'm still learning how to do this, is just to fucking stop. Just to stop. Just to stop. And I consider myself so lucky to have had all the opportunities. Look, we get to sit here and have this conversation. Holy shit, what a fucking privilege. I have a 8-month-old baby now, and you have 2 kids. He's just learning how to eat solid food. Do you realize what an accomplishment? When you watch a baby learn to eat solid food, I realize what a fucking accomplishment that is. Like, just being able to eat solid food, being able to crawl, learning how to say dad. Holy shit. Like, we've all accomplished so much just by surviving, but we forget about it. We forget about all the things that we have, and it becomes about the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. But it's like, damn, I could stop right now. Yeah, I still got to pay my bills, so there's that problem. But I really felt like that. I actually have had times in my life where motivation or hunger has become actually like a little bit of a problem, because I'm actually just so happy and don't really need anything that I've got to somehow now create some drama for myself to go out there and accomplish things, because I still need to live, and I want to buy a house, and I want to do all these things. But really, truthfully, you don't need all those things. But you know what? I think you got to the more I'm thinking about this stuff, it's like the more I got to be like, hey, Adam is going to live out his life, and Adam's going to do his thing. And I just got to be okay with it. I just got to be okay with it. Got to keep going. And as one of my good mentors, Ray Negron, who works in baseball. He's worked for the Indians and the Yankees. And I used to like, when I was 13 years old, I used to say, Ray, what are we doing tomorrow? What are we doing tomorrow? And he used to tell me, shut the fuck up. It's one day at a time.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my experience, But I think you got, even after 5MEO, I think you do the same thing. Like, you got to keep practice, sitting, and I've gone more down a zazen and sitting path and getting into koans, but whatever. I think psychedelics are real, and I think that they can be real. I think it depends on the person. Like with all this stuff, it depends on the person. Even with meditation, it could depend on the person. Some people meditate, it's great for them. Some people meditate, they can have a psychotic episode in the middle of a retreat. I don't, who knows? But I think the most important thing is just to be honest with yourself, and continue to not know, and continue to realize that whatever that thing is that you're one with, that ultimate mystery, is, because knowing is finite. As soon as you know something, right, you've limited it, you've defined it, and so whatever can be known actually can't ultimately be true. in the ultimate sense, because what's ultimately true can't be known. It can only be, maybe you can be it or grasp it directly, but trying to know it, trying to pin it down, um, you know, I don't know.